Hi everyone, and welcome to my Persian Corner on YouTube. My name is Panta, and this is our very first lesson on the channel. So today we're going to be looking at none other than the Persian alphabet. So if you're totally new to this, it can be a little bit challenging to get used to a new script, different letters and reading from right to left. But no worries, we're going to take it step by step. And today it's just about learning the letters, recognizing them in different parts of the word. And then when you're finished watching this video here, you can head over to my blog where I'll have some PDFs for you that you'll be able to download so you can get some more details and extra practice with not just recognizing the letters, but also practice writing them and then starting to put letters together to start to read some words that are familiar for you. So in honor of today's lesson, I've decided to wear anything alphabet related that I have, which includes my shirt and my earrings here. I won't tell you what letters they are now, but maybe by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to recognize them yourself. So let's go on and get started. The first letter of the alphabet is Alef, and there are two forms. So the one that you see on the right is commonly called Alef Bakola or Aya Bakola, which means Alef with a hat. And this one typically comes at the beginning of a word, like we see in the example on the right, ob. In the second example, we have both of these alefs, but this time the one with the hat is at the end. And this is actually my name, Panta. And it's an exception because, as I said, generally this alef with the hat doesn't come at the end of a word. Otherwise, alef is just a straight line and also sounds like ah, unless it has a diacritic, which we'll talk about at the end of this video. And with a diacritic, it can either sound like a, e, or o. And we have three other examples here: abr, baba, hava. Our next letter is b, b. And we have examples of this at the beginning, middle, and end of a word. Baradar, sabz, asp. I just want to hop in here real quickly and mention that most Persian resources will talk about the letters having three forms. So a beginning, middle, and end form. I always thought the middle form was a little bit unnecessary, with the exception of a handful of letters that actually do change form depending on whether or not they're connected with the letter before them. But otherwise, I think just the beginning and end form suffice for most letters. But I want to offer you a different way of considering the letters, which is the way that I learned them growing up. So growing up, my father taught my siblings and me how to read and write Persian. And the way that he explained it was that he compared it to English and said that the same way that English has lowercase and capital letters, Persian also has lowercase and capital letters, but the only difference is that in English you begin a word with a capital letter, but in Persian you end the word with the capital letter. And I think because of that comparison, because English was familiar for me, that just made total sense. And that's always, since that time, that's always the way that I've thought about these letters, is capital and lowercase, with the capital letter, quote unquote, capital letter coming at the end of a word. So I know many people are going to say, you know, that's not correct, or there's no capital and lowercase letters in Persian, which is fine. But it's just a different way to consider the letters and something that might be a little bit more familiar for you. So if you're good with beginning, middle, and end forms, that's awesome. But if you like the capital and lowercase forms, well, that option is there for you to consider the letters that way. All right, let's jump back into the alphabet. Next is P, P. Par, tappe, soup. T, Tehran, metro, دست. Se. This S sound is one of 3 different S sounds. ثانیه مثل بحث. جیم جواب جوجه برنج. چه چتر مورچه peach. He. And this is one of 2 he sounds. And so this one, we commonly call it he jimi because it looks like the letter jim that we saw a couple of slides ago, only this one doesn't have a dot. So we call it he jimi. Hammam, sahar, صبح. Khe. And this one is like in the back of your throat. Like if you have something stuck in the back of your throat and you need to get it out, it's that kh. Khane, tacht, kach. Dal, درخت, بادام, دود. Zal. Zal is one of 4 Z sounds. ذهن, جذاب, کاغذ. ر. راز, قرمز, آخر. ز. Here's our second Z sound. زنبور, سبزی, روز. ژ. ژاپن, مژه, گاراژ. سین. So sin is our second S sound. ساعت, اسب, درس. شین. شیر, ریشه, آتش. صاد, our last S sound. صابون, عصر, خاص. زاد, another Z sound. ضرر, رازی, قبض. تا, another T sound. طناب, قطار, خط. زا, another Z. ظهر, نظر, تلفظ. عین. Ain doesn't really have an equivalent sound in English, and in Persian it's very soft, so often you don't even hear it. If we look at our examples, we have ishq, so it just sounds like an eh. It's a very soft sound. In our other examples, we have jom'eh, sham, shuru. So you hardly even really hear it in some of these words. This letter has 2 basic forms that we see at the top, but then in writing, depending on whether or not the letters are connected, they can look a little bit different. So if you notice in the examples, it has 4 different looks depending on its position in the word and depending on whether or not it's connected. And there's a little bit more explanation on this in the PDFs on my blog. Qain. This letter is also in the back of your throat, so kind of think of the way the French say the R, right? It's kind of back in the throat. It's that q. It can be a little bit of a challenge to pronounce this one, but just give it a try and it'll get better. So qain looks like ain, right? Only this one has a dot. So that means that this one also has 2 basic forms, but depending on whether or not it's connected, it's going to look a little bit different in words. So we have 4 different forms, just like ain, only with a dot. So our examples here are غذا, جغد, جیغ, کلاغ. ف. فردا, سفر, برف. قاف. So this is another q, just like qain before. It's the same pronunciation. قند, بشقاب, برق. کاف. کتاب. آمریکا. کمک. گاف. گاو. انگور. رنگ. لام. لباس. بلبل. گل. میم. مادر. نمک. پیام. نون. نبات. بنفش. باران. واو. Vav can sound like either a V or an U. So at the beginning of the word, it's going to sound like a V. ورزش. نانوا. گوش. مو. he, another H sound. And this one we call he do çeşm, which means he with two eyes because of the way it looks. And just like we saw with our letters ain and ghain, this one is going to look different. Also, it has 4 different forms depending on whether or not it's connected or unconnected with the letter before and its position in the word. هزار. ماهی. بهشت. مه. ماه. Ye. And this sounds like either a y, a y, or an e. At the beginning of a word, it's going to sound like a y. So we have yek, sip, obi. So that was our alphabet. Persian has 32 letters and it's a consonantal language, which means that vowels are generally omitted in writing. The vowel sounds are indicated by diacritics, which we'll get to in a couple of slides, but typically diacritics are almost always omitted. So Persian is based off of the Arabic alphabet, but there are 4 letters that aren't in the Arabic alphabet, and those letters are pe, che, je, and gaf. And then most of our letters can connect on either the right side or the left side, but then we have these 7 letters that can only connect on their right side. So if you write a letter to the left of these, they're not going to be connected. Like we have our examples, livan, pedar, zard, ازدواج. And we can see that in the last 2, in zard and in ازدواج, these words are comprised almost entirely of these letters, so none of them are going to be connected. It's good to just know this, but it'll become clearer and make a lot more sense in practice and once you get used to seeing and reading and writing and all of these things. Here's an overview of our letters with the same pronunciation. We had 2 t sounds, te and ta, 2 h sounds, he and he, and then 2 g sounds, qaf and ghain. 3 s sounds, se, sin, and sad, and 4 z sounds, zal, ze, zad, and za. Now, if I'm not mistaken, these have different pronunciations in Arabic, but in Persian, they all sound the same. Okay, let's take a look now at our diacritics. We have 3 main diacritics. The first one, when we place it above a letter, it gives it a vowel sound. So in our example, we see this diacritic placed above the nun, the n. So n becomes na. And then it's also placed above the mim or the m. So m becomes ma. So it's namak, which is salt. When we place this diacritic below the letter, it becomes e. So here we have our example esm, which means name. And the last one here, which looks like kind of looks like a small vav, when you place it above a letter, it adds the o vowel sound, like ordak. Diacritics are almost never written in Persian unless, you're trying to avoid some confusion or the writer wants something to be read, in a very specific way. Otherwise, they're never written. So what you're going to see is the word that's in red, right? But depending on the context, this could be read as gel, which means mud, or gol. And so context is really the only way to know. Another example is this one, and what you'll see is the word in red, which could be read as koshti, which means you killed or wrestling, or kishti, which means ship. And just to give you one more example, this word here, which could be read as mardum, people, or mordam, I died. And then two more of these diacritics that you might come across, but again, these are always omitted in writing. The top one that you see it's called a tashdid, and it's a double consonant sound. So instead of reading this as akos, you kind of have to pause on the k, akos. This is similar to the double consonant in Italian. The other one comes at the end of the word placed above an alef, and it actually makes it sound like a nun, an N sound. So the spelling looks like lotfa, but it's actually lotfan. And in the second example, it looks like hatma, but it's actually pronounced hatman. All right, my friends, we made it through the Persian alphabet. That might seem like it was a lot of information. Hopefully it wasn't too overwhelming, but I just wanted to present you with all of the information in one video. But remember, you can always come back and rewatch this video. And I think that you'll see that as you progress in your Persian studies, these things will all fall into place. I'm definitely the type of learner that needs to do things and see things in context before I really get them. They're like just looking at rules and things doesn't really help me that much. For now, you can head over to my blog where I have those PDFs available for you. I'll leave the link in the description below. There's going to be two files. The first one is just the alphabet, where there's more details and examples, as well as some writing practice, so you can practice writing the letters. The second file is going to be cognates. So cognates are words that are the same in the different languages. So for example, television in English would be television, or most languages internet is internet, Persian would say internet. So this will give you some practice with not just recognizing the letters, but also starting to sound out the words, because you know the words. So you'll be able to sound them out. That'll give you some reading practice as well. But before I let you go, let's see what these letters are that I was wearing today. So the t-shirt, if you can see, it's all the same letter. I think kind of upside down. Here's a good example of one that's right side up. That's our letter he, or sometimes as we call it he dochesh, the two-eyed he. And then here we have pe, right, with the three dots underneath. And here, sin. I can't tell which way is correct. Maybe I'm holding it the wrong way, but you get the idea. And these would be the quote-unquote capital letters or end forms. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any questions. You can leave them below in the comments or shoot me an email. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next videos. Khodafez.